Have you ever wondered? What was the first object we ever sent into space? Who was the first to leave Earth? And what did they see? Why did we stop going to the moon? What's really waiting for us on Mars? And what if this is only the beginning? Watch until the very end, because the deeper you go, the more you'll realize. Our greatest discoveries haven't happened yet. Welcome to Limitless, where curiosity has no horizon, the journey never ends, and the stars are only the beginning. For as long as humans have existed, we've looked to the skies with awe and wonder. The stars were not just distant lights, but storytellers of ancient myths, navigators of lost ships, and silent witnesses to all of human history. They shone above empires and explorers, dreamers and scientists. Long before the first rocket lifted off the ground, the journey to space had already begun. In the minds of those who dared to ask, what lies beyond? In ancient times, civilizations studied the heavens obsessively. The Babylonians mapped planetary movements with astonishing accuracy. The Chinese recorded supernovae, called them guest stars. The Mayans built calendars that followed Venus with eerie precision. The Egyptians aligned pyramids with celestial constellations. Their gods were tied to the stars. All across the ancient world, humanity saw the sky as divine. But it wasn't science yet. It was mystery. During the Renaissance, mystery gave way to measurement. Galileo turned his telescope skyward and saw craters on the moon, moons orbiting Jupiter, and phases of Venus that proved not everything revolved around Earth. Johannes Kepler formulated the laws of planetary motion. Isaac Newton discovered gravity and built the mathematical tools to calculate how objects move here on Earth and out in space. These minds cracked the cosmic code, but they were still trapped on the ground. The dream of spaceflight began to form during the 19th and early 20th centuries. Russian visionary Konstantin Tsiolkovsky theorized rockets powered by liquid fuel. He declared that Earth is the cradle of humanity, but one cannot live in a cradle forever. His ideas were radical and largely ignored during his lifetime, but they were right. Then came war. World War II brought technological horror and unimaginable destruction. But from that darkness came one of the first real steps toward space. The German V-2 rocket, built under the Nazi regime, was the first human-made object to reach the edge of space. It flew over 300 kilometers with a ballistic arc. It was not a scientific tool. It was a weapon. But it showed what was possible. It crashed soon after liftoff. After the war, both the United States and the Soviet Union scrambled to seize German rocket expertise. Among those captured was Wernher von Braun, who would become instrumental in America's future space program. The Cold War was heating up, and with it, the space race began. On October 4, 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite to orbit Earth. A metal sphere the size of a beach ball, with 4 antennae trailing behind, transmitting a beeping signal back to Earth. That simple pulse was heard around the world. It sent shockwaves through science, politics, and culture. The space age had officially begun. The United States responded by forming NASA in 1958, but the Soviets struck again. On April 12, 1961, cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first human to journey into space. He completed 1 orbit around Earth in the Vostok 1 capsule. His flight lasted 108 minutes. He was a pilot, a national hero, and suddenly, the face of the future. He looked down from space and famously said, "I see Earth. It is beautiful." The United States pushed forward with Project Mercury, sending astronauts into suborbital and then orbital flights. Then came Gemini, where astronauts practiced spacewalks and docking maneuvers. And finally, Apollo. The mission: land humans on the moon and return them safely to Earth. It seemed impossible, but they made it real. On July 20, 1969, Apollo 11 touched down on the surface of the moon. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin climbed down the ladder of the lunar module. Armstrong stepped onto the surface and spoke the most famous words in the history of spaceflight. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. The world watched in awe. For the first time, humanity had set foot on another world. 5 more Apollo missions would land on the moon over the next 3 years. Astronauts drove rovers, collected samples, left behind scientific instruments, and even golf balls. The final Apollo mission returned in 1972. Then the dream paused. Public interest faded. Budgets were cut. The moon became history, not destiny. But space exploration did not end. It evolved. In the decades that followed, uncrewed spacecraft became our emissaries to the cosmos. NASA's Pioneer and Voyager probes launched into the outer solar system. In 1979, Voyager 1 gave us the first close-up images of Jupiter and its swirling red storms. Then Saturn's rings. Then Neptune's icy winds. Voyager 2 would continue to send back data for decades. Eventually, both probes would leave the solar system entirely. They are still traveling now, carrying the golden record, a message to any intelligent life that might one day find them. Closer to home, satellites revolutionized Earth itself. We now watched our own planet from above, monitoring weather, guiding ships and airplanes, broadcasting television and phone signals across the globe. We had turned the sky into an infrastructure. In 1990, the Hubble Space Telescope was launched into orbit. Floating just beyond Earth's atmosphere, it gave us the clearest view of the universe ever seen. Galaxies collided. Stars were born and died. Black holes devoured light itself. The Hubble's images were not just scientific, they were spiritual. They changed how we see ourselves. Then, in 2000, the International Space Station became operational. A joint effort by the United States, Russia, Europe, Japan, and Canada, the ISS became the first permanent human outpost in orbit. Astronauts began to live and work in space for months at a time. They studied biology, tested materials, grew plants, and observed how the human body adapts to zero gravity. They also performed maintenance spacewalks, filmed educational videos, and witnessed 16 sunrises every day. The ISS became a symbol, not just of exploration, but of international cooperation. As the 21st century progressed, a new player emerged: private industry. Space was no longer the exclusive domain of governments. Companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Virgin Galactic began building their own rockets and spacecraft. Some failed, some exploded, but some succeeded. In 2015, SpaceX successfully landed a first-stage rocket booster vertically on a landing pad. It was a breakthrough. Reusable rockets drastically lowered the cost of spaceflight. For the first time, the dream of accessible space was within reach. SpaceX went on to build the Falcon Heavy, the Crew Dragon capsule, and eventually, the Starship, a fully reusable spacecraft designed to carry humans to the Moon, Mars, and beyond. Other companies followed suit. Blue Origin tested suborbital flights for tourists. Satellites were launched in mega constellations. Space became busy. Meanwhile, we returned to Mars, not with humans, but with robots. The Spirit and Opportunity rovers explored Martian plains. Curiosity drilled into rocks, searching for signs of ancient life. And in 2021, the Perseverance rover landed with a companion, a tiny helicopter named Ingenuity. It became the first aircraft to fly on another planet. Short flights, small steps, but big meaning. Perseverance is now collecting samples that may one day be returned to Earth. If we find microbial life on Mars, even fossilized, it will rewrite our understanding of the universe. Back on the Moon, new missions are in motion. NASA's Artemis program aims to return humans to the lunar surface. including the first woman and the first person of color. Unlike Apollo, Artemis is not just about flags and footprints. It's about building a sustainable presence. Bases, power, science, practice for Mars. China has also landed rovers on the Moon and Mars. India successfully placed a probe in Martian orbit. The United Arab Emirates launched its own Mars mission. The space community is no longer bipolar. It is global, and it is growing. Space is also becoming political once again. Concerns about satellite collisions, orbital debris, and the militarization of space are rising. Questions about who owns the Moon, who can mine asteroids, and how to govern space activities are pressing. The next space race might not be between nations, but between governments and corporations. But amid the politics and profit, the dream endures. Why do we go to space? We go to understand, to innovate, to protect Earth with better data and global views, to defend against asteroids, to test technologies that help us on Earth, from satellite internet to solar power to climate monitoring. But we also go for something harder to measure. We go because the universe calls us, because we are wired to explore, to push boundaries, to ask impossible questions. What is dark matter? Are we alone? Can we build new homes on other worlds? Will our children one day watch Earthrise from the hills of Mars? Space exploration is not just about technology. It is about humanity. It is about survival, yes, but also meaning. The more we learn about the cosmos, the more we learn about ourselves. And we are still just beginning. In the future, we may send astronauts to Mars, build telescopes that see the birth of the first stars, establish colonies on the Moon, sail robotic submarines through the oceans of Europa or Enceladus, mine asteroids for rare minerals, and send light-speed probes to Alpha Centauri. All of that begins with one simple truth. We are explorers. Our ancestors crossed oceans. We cross atmospheres. We've gone from staring at stars to walking among them. The sky is no longer the limit. It is just the beginning. We are not done, not even close. We are only now learning how to leave home, and the universe is waiting. We have touched the void and left footprints in dust that has never known life. We have sent our machines to whisper with planets we've never seen with human eyes. But even now, with telescopes that see to the edge of time and rovers wandering alien sands, we stand at the very beginning. The universe is not just vast. It is infinite, unknowable, wild beyond imagination. And we, fragile, brilliant, curious beings, are daring to become part of it. Beyond every planet is another question. Beyond every answer, another star. There are no final frontiers. There is only the next. And we will go there, not because we must, but because we can. Because to explore is to live without limits. Because in the story of the stars, we are only on the first page. Thank you for watching Limitless, where curiosity has no horizon, the journey never ends, and the stars are only the beginning. Keep watching and subscribe for more journeys beyond imagination.